Hey everybody, I've had so many people talk about different elimination diets that they've done to help their different GI and gut situations in the, innards, that I wanted to kind of share how I went about my elimination diet, how it helped me to pretty much reverse all of my symptoms that I was having to begin with. So shoot back 2017, I got something called gastroenteritis, and it's inflammation in your intestines. And it was extremely painful. I had intense cramping. Other people might experience like diarrhea or constipation. They might experience other things that I don't know about, but what I know is that my stomach would become extremely hard, and from my belly button up, it would protrude and be just incredibly uncomfortable. Eating was just the worst. And I figured out that by taking out gluten, corn, rice, and almonds at the time, that all of those symptoms would go away. Throughout the years, I've done lots of probiotics. I've done lots of, removing gluten, corn, and rice. And I didn't realize that there were other things that I could do to really help the situation. So after years of really getting to a good place, and then it was not a good place, I was having some other health issues with my iron levels, and I was in a bad way. So you know how it is when you're not feeling well and you just are exhausted all the time and everything feels like way more effort than it should be. A lot of times what goes is your food and what you eat and what you ingest, and so you start just eating a lot of junk and maybe Reese's peanut butter cups or nothing, because you're just like, everything makes me feel terrible. Or you're so hungry, then you just binge eat on all the noodles and all the bread and all the things, and then you feel really terrible, and then you go to sleep because you're so tired because you just had a sugar crash and a carb crash. Yeah, that was me. So in July, I went and saw my doctor. I got all my iron and vitamin levels figured out, which changed my life entirely, and I can talk about that later. Took away all my perimenopause symptoms, took away all my PMDD symptoms, PMS symptoms, took away all my fatigue. I'm telling you guys, life-changing. But what really helped me to get strong and healthy and to take care of my gut has been an elimination diet. I just happened to look it up. My doctor was thinking I possibly had Crohn's, and so she had said, let's send out for a calprotectin stool test and see what your numbers are. So while waiting for that, I began to do an elimination diet. I looked up the different things to take out when you have Crohn's, and I took out gluten. I took out corn because that's an inflammatory food. I took out rice. I have had a history of issues with rice, and I had just been going through like a bout of that where literally I'd eat it and within minutes, oh my word, the stomach cramping was out of control. And I took out beans because sometimes our bodies can react to weird things. So an elimination diet is not forever. It's just for a while. Gluten, corn, rice, beans. I took out all dairy, no cheese. That one, actually, it was sad, but it wasn't terrible. I took out all sugar, and I removed anything else. Oh, like preservatives, that kind of stuff. And I just went gung-ho with it. And I did really, really good. And my body was like kind of up and down, sort of trying to figure things out, especially when I decided, you know what? I didn't know this, but people with Crohn's sometimes have problems with cruciferous vegetables. And I did. I never had problems in the past, but some of the months leading up to this, I was starting to have problems, but I didn't correlate it. And so I had a bunch of broccoli during this elimination diet, and wow, I really suffered a lot. And I say that was the time that the bathroom and I became best of friends. And so then I had to experiment with that again and still had the same problem. And then lettuce was causing me a lot of problems. So in that elimination diet, what I focused on the most is staying nourished and staying satiated, meaning I'm not starving Marvin, because listen, when you take everything out, you think, what am I going to eat? You have a lot of things that you can eat. So for me, I focused on protein, healthy, good proteins. And I tried to get 30 or more grams per meal. And that really helped me a ton. On top of that, I tried to make sure that I was eating healthy fats. Fats are so good for your hormones, they're so good for your brain, they're good for your nerves, they're good. Fat is good for you. But obviously too much fat is not great for you. So just really, I didn't know calorie counting, none of that stuff. I was just really focusing on that protein. And when you get 30 grams of protein or more, it's pretty easy to get satiated pretty quick. And then I would fill in the rest, not with broccoli, of course, no, but maybe like sweet potatoes, and I'd do some peppers and onions, which was just divine. Or maybe I'd have carrots, or I'd have some cucumbers or peppers, and all the different things that you can do with vegetables and all that stuff. And fruits. I was totally fine with fruits. Sometimes eating an apple was a little too fibrous for me, and it would cause me a little bit, but that's okay. So for breakfast, what was I eating? I was eating pasture-raised eggs. They're so good for you, and they taste amazing. I get them from Sam's Club. And then I would have 2 of those. That only has about 12 grams of protein, so not very much. But in the beginning, when I wasn't eating any kind of dairy, it was just like, well, it just is what it is. Then I would have a sweet potato hash where you dice up some sweet potatoes, and then you use some red peppers and onions. I've made it for you guys a couple of times. And then you roast it for 20 minutes, olive oil, salt, and pepper, and you just eat it. It's just delightful. So I would have that next to my eggs. And then instead of using butter to cook the eggs, I was cooking it in olive oil, which changes the taste slightly, but I didn't find it to be repulsive or even disgusting. It was actually quite delicious. So it was just that mental, like, I'm used to cooking this in butter, but when you're getting rid of all the dairy stuff, you could totally use ghee, which is clarified butter, and you might do better with that. Okay. Then what else was I eating for breakfast? Well, I think that was pretty much it. I was binging on pasture-raised eggs, and I was binging on sweet potato hash because it was so good. And then I would have half an avocado with salt and pepper, super great fat. I would stay satisfied for 4 to 5 hours, no joke. And I wasn't hungry. The point of an elimination diet is not to be hungry, it's to heal your innards. So at that time, I was also making sure to have probiotics if any kind of like inflammation seemed to be happening, which is like bloating, gas, that kind of a thing. Diarrhea, constipation, all those things, they're problems. And getting your gut bacteria into a good place is a good thing. So I will link below the probiotics that I have been using since 2017 when I got gastritis, and my doctor told me then you need to be taking probiotics and prebiotics. And I guess I was surprised that my doctor said that, because I feel like the whole prebiotic thing, that long ago was more of a holistic doctor type thing. And my doctor's she's just a doctor, but she's amazing. And that was a lifesaver for me. So then I would eat lunch. And what was I eating for lunch? I was eating amazing homemade meatballs with no breading in them. And they're so good. I'll link that down below too, and you can get that recipe. Then I would cook up some spaghetti squash, and then some Rayo sauce because it's no sugar added, and eat that, and it was delicious. I would have turkey burgers, super simple. You just take some ground turkey meat, and you patty it up, and I use Riley's seasoning on that. Shake it, bake it, put it in the pan, and then I'd eat it with some kind of, something on the side, some peppers or some carrots, or what else was I eating it with? Probably at one point I was eating it with broccoli until I realized that was a no-no, which I have since been able to eat broccoli, by the way. That's how amazing doing an elimination diet can be. I'm not gonna guarantee it, but man, it was just incredibly amazing for me. I was also making this fantastic copycat chicken salad that I've made for you guys. Rotisserie chicken. You've got grapes. I was using chosen mayo, and that's really good. And then you have pecans in there, which is great protein because you've got the protein from the pecans, you've got protein from the rotisserie chicken. Then I was adding in some celery, and I was adding in apples. A little bit of fiber in there to help your situation, you know what I'm saying? And what else was going in there? I think that's it. Grapes, apples, celery, then a squeeze of lemon juice, and the chicken and the pecans. Well, then I started eating that on lettuce. And then I realized, whoa, we're not eating that on lettuce anymore. So I just ate it the bowl full because it was delicious. And then I was also making tuna. And the day that I made tuna, I had no pickles. What? And you have to be careful about pickles when you're in an elimination diet because, excuse me, they got stuffs in there that you can't have. And so I was like, I can't, what am I gonna do? So I had my tuna. I use Safe Catch, super high in protein, very good. It's not gonna be as watery though as maybe like the Star Kiss, is that what it's called? Then I'm using that chosen mayo again. I cut up some peppers in there, red peppers, and I cut up some cucumbers because the cucumbers are, you know, unpickled pickles. And so, okay, we got the cucumbers, and then I would put everything bagel seasoning in there. And was there anything else? No. And then we're not eating that on lettuce, unfortunately, but you might be able to handle lettuce, so feel free. Eat it on like a thick stick of a pepper. Maybe have some cucumbers on the side, some carrots, whatever it is. Oh, it's so good. And then for dinner time, we typically eat like meat and vegetable type meals. So I'm having like chuck roast with bone broth, beef bone broth, seared. And then we got our seasonings on there. They're just herbs and salt and pepper. And then I'm cooking it up with some carrots. And if you want to do potatoes, I stayed away from regular potatoes for quite some time, just trying to do a lower glycemic thing because I have a sensitivity to carbs and sugar. And if I eat too much, and too much is not very much, then I want to go night-night. And I become incredibly lethargic, and I was trying to not have that. So we didn't do the whole potato thing, maybe one time, and then it was like night-night. So that's a really good one. Pork chops with like a side of green beans. Oh, we made these amazing green beans. I still make them. No, it was zucchini. Sorry. Zucchini with almond slices. You put almond slices, olive oil in the pan. As they get toasted up, you cut thick pieces of zucchini, and then you put it in the pan, and it's so beautiful. That's all I can tell you, okay? But then maybe some pork chops, salt and pepper on those guys. Cook them up on the stove. Delicious. You can have burgers, just skip the bun, maybe put it on lettuce if you can do lettuce. I don't care about having lettuce, so I just put it on the plate and just eat all the things. We do steak. We do chicken, a little chicken with, with peppers and onions. I was using the almond flour tortillas from Siete. I got them at Costco, but you can get them, I think I also got them at Walmart or Target. So that's an option too. I mean, there really doesn't have to be a lack of flavor. There doesn't have to be a lack of food. So on the elimination diet, I just really focused on the foods that are going to make me feel amazing. And I would say that it was about 6 weeks in when the bloating finally stopped and kind of the up and down of how I was feeling stopped in my intestinal area. And what was interesting is, like, for the first 4 weeks, I thought it was smooth sailing. We're doing really good. And then there was 2 weeks of just, my body was like, I hate you. And you and the bathroom are best friends. And we're going to make sure that you spend as much time together as possible. And it was just like everything I ate just made me mad, my tummy mad. And then after that, like, I could eat and I wouldn't get bloated at all. My pants would still fit properly. You know what I'm saying, you guys? Like, I would wake up and just feel alive and feel amazing. So once I started feeling really good, I started introducing things back in. The first thing that I introduced back in was cottage cheese. It's not as strong as, like, let's go in for milk. I use Daisy because it doesn't have anything else in it. It's just like milk cultures, like, that's it. So there's not a bunch of other additives, which a lot do have. And then I think is at 4% fat. Remember that fat is good and it helps you feel satiated, helps your brain work, it helps your body and your hormones, which as women folk, hello, we need all the happy hormones. So I introduced that back in, and that was so nice because it's such a high percentage of protein. I think it's 17 grams of protein for 3/4 of a cup. And if you want to get really crazy, because sometimes you're just hungry, like, listen, you just add a little extra. 2 ways I like to eat it. One of the ways is with the everything bagel seasoning if you want more of a savory. And the other way is with some like pecans or walnuts on the top. And then you warm up some wild blueberries. Just warm them up enough for them to not be really frozen anymore, and they get kind of juicy, and you pour it over the top. It sounds kind of disgusting because it's a sweet on top of cottage cheese, which I never think of cottage cheese as sweet, but it's delicious, and I think it's well worth the protein. So you don't just take the serving size, like I double it, and that makes sure that I get at least 30 grams of protein for like breakfast or lunch or whatever. And then maybe you have a side of raspberries for that good fiber, because you know you want to keep the innards happy. So I introduced that, and I introduced Fage Greek yogurt. I like 4%, but Costco sells 2% in the big one. So it's like, wah, wah. And same thing, add some nuts on the top of that, add some frozen berries. I do that a lot, a little bit of cinnamon sprinkled on that. That's a really good one. And then I started adding in milk, and there were a few times that the milk was like, excuse me. So I gave that a little rest, and I waited a little bit, and eventually I'm like okay with it. So I don't know. I don't have a ton of milk, so I can't say, oh yeah, just drink whatever you want. But Costco has an A2 milk, which is good because I think it's like, it's not lactose free, but if you are kind of sensitive to milk, it could be kind of helpful. Then I also added in some cheeses. Hard cheeses are really good. Parmigiano, an ounce of Parmesan is like 8 grams of protein, I think, maybe 9 grams. And so that's really good to have, you know, especially when we're talking about those meatballs. And then we're talking about like the sauce and the spaghetti squash and all of that stuff. Ooh, don't get me started. It's so tasty. So those got added back in. And then I have added in gluten and wheat and all of that stuff. And I would say that it's not my favorite. I don't feel great after eating it. I've gotten a headache or two. I've gotten kind of bloated afterward. I just made chicken pot pie in my last video and I added flour to thicken it. And I don't know, all night long, my stomach wasn't hurting, but it was just very gurgly and talky and a bit bloated. So I don't know if I want to go that route again. So I'm trying to kind of stay away from that as well. I really, during this elimination diet, also didn't snack, and I think that's really important. So if any of you have ever done intermittent fasting in the past, intermittent fasting is so great because it gives your body this chance to rest in between. And I personally am not doing intermittent fasting right now because I'm super, super focused on like nourishing my body and feeding my body really, really well. And when I intermittent fast, I'm not finding that I get enough time to eat enough protein and enough nourishment to feel really strong and healthy. But when you take time in between your meals and you don't snack, it's the mylar motor complex. I'll put it on the screen. So what happens is when you take that time between eating, where you're not eating at all, maybe just drinking water, your body's able to get rid of all the food that's kind of sitting around in there. And sometimes that food's sitting around in there and it ferments and it does and sometimes that food sitting around in there can be part of the problem. But when you take a break from eating and you just have like strong, full meals that are satiating, your body has time to work through all of that stuff and not constantly have to focus on digesting, and just getting all that gunk out is really helpful in making you feel good. So I think that really made a big difference on my bloating as well. And I supplemented a lot because I had other issues. So during this, I was supplementing with vitamins. I use Shaklee. I've said this before. I believe it's an MLM company. I am not part of that. I literally just went Shaklee.com because I used to use this as a kid. Shaklee.com. I went in and I just ordered it. It's called Meology. You take this little quiz and it tells you the vitamins that would be really good for you in your situation. Like if you're male, if you're female, if you want brain stuff, if you're postnatal, prenatal, all that kind of stuff. So you take the little test, and then I take those vitamins religiously because they make me feel amazing. And I remember in high school when I took them, I felt amazing then. I was very rarely sick. I wasn't having any of these health issues like I am now, you know. But then you get out on your own and you're like, I'm not taking the vitamins. And then you realize, bad choice, Megan. Bad choice. If I could tell 19-year-old Megan some things, one of the things I would tell her is, you get really good at taking your vitamins, eating your protein, healthy fats, and exercise. During my elimination diet, I have been exercising, and because I've gotten my iron levels up, which was really in a bad way when I first started all of this, I've gotten my iron levels up, all of my vitamins are getting in me. I'm taking iron like I'm so good at taking my iron. I'm just happy that I do that. And then the elimination diet, then all of a sudden you're feeling good again, right? I had so much energy during all of this that it was hard to fall asleep at night. And I was waking up just like ready for the day. And then I would weight lift and I would take George, my dog, for a walk in the morning. And then I'd still at night feel just like antsy. And I'd go and I'd take another walk, and I was walking an hour and a half a day and exercising and all that stuff. And that has sort of come down where I don't feel that kind of, but for a while, I mean, I felt so good after 20 years of feeling so terrible. And then 2017, 18, 19, 20, 7 years of having stomach stuff off and on. And then 2.5 years of really struggling with perimenopausal symptoms. When all of that went away, I mean, my body was just elated, you know? So now I feel that I'm really balanced and I know what needs to happen here. And now I'm in maintenance mode. So I still pretty much stay away from gluten, corn, rice. I haven't had rice at all since July. I've had a little broccoli just last week and I was okay. But my doctor said that. She said, you know, as things continue to heal, just try things out in very small portions. And eventually you should probably be able to get back to normal eating as far as the broccoli and the cruciferous vegetables go, which I just love. I love Brussels sprouts. I love cauliflower. I love broccoli. I mean, broccoli's probably my favorite vegetable and I have some great ways to make it. Oh, if you can eat broccoli, listen to me. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take a tomato and you're going to chop it up and you're going to put some olive oil in a pan and heat it up. You're going to put the tomato in there, like a little garlic, you know, not garlic powder, although you could, but like chopped up garlic and then some oregano and some basil and salt and pepper. And you're going to just heat that baby up and then you're going to pour it over your cooked broccoli. Kill me now, it's so good. It is so good. You can even put it on green beans too. That's a Betty Crocker recipe from when I was a kid, which that Betty Crocker recipe book is from the 80s. Yeah, it was my dad's and now I have it. But it was originally for green beans, but I used it on broccoli. Anyway, that's beside the point. So I don't know what you're going through, if you're having IBS, if you have Crohn's issues, if you have any kind of whatever that you're doing, check out an elimination diet and see if it could be really helpful for you. I'm not a doctor, I am a Meghan. So you need to talk to your doctor and do your research and make sure that you're doing things that are going to be good for your body. But some of it is trial and error. And some of it is just figuring out how your body responds to things and giving it what it needs in order to be nourished and strong and healthy and healed. And I would not say that I'm 100% healed at this point, but I am amazing. You know, I'm amazing. So July of 2024, it is now November of 2024. And so that's a good while to be working through things and see just such healthy changes going on. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know some of your own experiences with elimination diets and how they have helped you in your situation or somebody that you know. And yeah, I love it. I feel great. And I'm so glad to have connected with so many of you that, you know, you understand the struggle. And you've been working on it too. And I'm very proud of you. It's hard. And sometimes it feels really daunting. I remember years ago when I was diagnosed with silent migraines after I had my 4th child, they gave me this sheet of paper of everything to eliminate. And I wanted to bawl my eyes out. I literally went home and I cried. I don't think I just wanted to. I think I cried. And I was like, I cannot. And you know what? I really didn't follow it because it was so overwhelming. I mean, you should have seen the sheet of paper that they gave me. I was like, pretty much don't live, like don't be alive and you won't have silent migraines anymore. Now, thankfully that is done and gone with. It was like a post-pregnancy weirdness and it went away, but I get it. It is something, but I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. I'm doing it too. I'm with you. Saying no to stuff is hard, but there comes a point where you feel so good that you don't even want to go there. And when you feel satiated and you have had enough protein and you've had enough healthy fats and fibers, you don't even have that like desire. So when I'm at my best, looking at candy from Halloween doesn't seem appealing. When I'm not in a good place and I haven't eaten enough to really feel satiated, that candy looks awesome because it's easy and it's quick and you know it tastes so yummy. But it's weird, like if you eat well and you eat to satiated, it doesn't have the same pull on you anymore. It really is incredible. And you'll just learn different recipes that work for you. You don't have to have a brand new recipe for every meal. That would be silly. Find, 1 or 2 things that you love and eat that. And then when you get tired of that, then start looking for other things. Don't go crazy and go, oh, I have to have 17 meals for this week. No, nobody does that. Do they? You don't do that, do you? No. Anyway, also please drink your water. Lots and lots of water. So anyway, that is my elimination diet how-to. I hope it's helpful for you guys. And I will talk with you really soon. Check the description box for some recipes. There's some good stuff out there, I promise. It's going to be so good. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.